Israel owns almost all the entertainment media and you never heard of him. Let me just scratch the surface. He owns Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline, so that's the big three entertainment news. He owns Billboard and the Billboard charts, Rolling Stone, WWD, Footwear News, IndieWire, Vibe. He also has a 20% stake in Vox Media, which owns all of these properties. Those are just publications. He also owns a bunch of experiences like the Golden Globes, the Country Music Awards, the American Music Awards, South by Southwest, the Billboard Music Awards, So You Think You Can Dance, and the Streaming Awards. He doesn't want you to know who he is, but that's what I'm here for. The first thing you need to know about Jay Penske is that he's a bigot and an asshole. He's the type of person who would be drunk in the parking lot of a Nantucket yacht club, urinate on a woman's boots, grab her, push her, and allegedly yelling, "You're not white enough" at the woman. Shortly after that 2012 incident, Penske bought Variety, apparently for the purpose of shutting down the story, and we didn't see his mugshots until earlier this year. He's also the type of person who would purchase a 100-year-old black church and displace his congregants, but he can build a mega mansion. Clearly people are upset about it, and he did it anyway. And now that he's recently divorced, he allegedly was engaging in pay-to-play for the Golden Globes. Apparently he decided to pull out. This seems like fake news, but we'll never know because he owns all the publications responsible for covering that sort of thing. That wouldn't be the first time he pimped out the Golden Globes. As independent outlet Puck News reports, they were charging low six figures to try to have a dinner with the voters for the Golden Globes. You probably never heard of this because, again, Penske owns everything. You know you're corrupt when a publication you own runs this headline. And that's still not the end of all the Golden Globes drama. Penske just added a podcasting category to the Golden Globes, so now far-right podcasters might be able to get a shiny trophy. But you got people like Ben Shapiro doing a Times Square buyout to get an FYP for his nomination. But none of them were selected. They're crying foul even though no political podcast of any ideology made the top 6. Oh, and by the way, Jay Penske owns the metrics to even determine which podcasts were eligible. And if you're wondering where the DOJ is in this, they investigated for antitrust and of course Trump's DOJ approved it. Here's Penske's dad, Roger, billionaire racing tycoon receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I know, what a snooze fest. As New York Times reports, Penske has the power to select the winners and losers in Hollywood. Hollywood saw that Ryan Coogler was going to get the rights of sinners back in 25 years and lost their minds. So he immediately became public enemy number 1 in the industry. And that is the reason why Penske Media has been attacking sinners. Pretending like 60 million opening weekend wasn't a big deal. And not even included on Rolling Stone's top 20 films of the year. Despite the fact that it was critically acclaimed by both audiences and critics. I bet you can guess which movie made Variety's list. Not once, but twice in the same article. That was a lot of information to pack into 3 minutes. I hope you have a happy new year. Enjoy the ball drop.
Welcome. This is Majesty Sussex Report, and I'm Antonio. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time here with us. So, what if I told you that the same man whose father gave over $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration now owns Variety, Rolling Stone, Billboard, The Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline? Every major Hollywood publication, and just published a hit piece on Meghan and Harry using 6 anonymous sources. Something tells me that you wouldn't be surprised. Something also tells me that you've heard about this hit piece article in Variety. And I'm proud of the work that my fellow content creators are doing. I wanted to give it a little bit of a spin and try not to rehash what my fellow content creators have done so well. So his name is Jay Penske. His father, Roger Penske, received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, personally handed to him by Donald Trump. The Penske family directed over 1.1 million to Trump Super PAC in 2024 alone. More than 80% of their political money goes to the Republican Party. And Penske Media Empire received listen carefully, a 200 million investment from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. The same fund linked to the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. When asked if they'll return the money, there was absolute silence. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because this story, it doesn't start in Hollywood. It starts across the Atlantic. It starts in London. In the UK, the Daily Mail is owned by Lord Rothermere, a Viscount, a member of British aristocracy, who took his empire, that entire media empire, private, so no shareholder could question him. His great-grandfather's newspaper once ran the headline, and I want you to hear this one: "Hooray for the Blackshirts." If you don't know what that means, I'll tell you in a little bit what that means. That's who owns the paper that Prince Harry testified in open court made Meghan's life, in his words, an absolute misery. And Lord Rothermere, well, he was personally invited to King Charles' state banquet, the recent one for Trump. And who knows which other ones he was invited to. So think about it. The man whose newspaper, Harry says, destroyed his wife, sat at the king's table. Now, let me get to explaining to you what "hooray for the Blackshirts" mean and why it's important. Now, I'm going to try my very best not to use certain names, but I'll refer to them like the man with the mustache from Germany. You folks should figure who that is. Because if you haven't noticed, I would say from the beginning of this year or before, since I mentioned this name, Penske, any long videos that I've made have struggled to actually even reach 500 views. While in the past, we would reach 1,000 and more. Now it sits between 200. If it does go beyond 500, that's about it. Once in a while, it may get to a higher number. I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se. I'm not saying anything in particular. Maybe I am boring, and maybe the material that I'm bringing to you is of no interest to anyone. So that would account for the lower viewership. But I do find it interesting, and I find it curious. So in order not to get even more sanctioned or the video to be repressed, I will just be careful in the way I say certain names that I'm going to try not to name. So here we go. And why does "hooray for the Blackshirts" is significant, and what does that mean? So the Blackshirts were the street fighters and members of the British Union of Fascists, BUF, Britain's homegrown, it begins with an N, that name, aligned movement, founded in 1932 by Sir Oswald Mosley. They wore black military-style uniforms, modeled directly on the Italian one, Mussolini, fascist, hence the name. They were notorious for violent anti Semitic attacks on the Jewish communities in London East End, distributing the man with the mustache, what we would call that person, style propaganda, and holding mass rallies with the man with the mustache movement salutes. Mosley was personally friendly with both Mussolini and the man with the mustache, was literally the guests of honor, both of them, at Mosley's second wedding. On January 15, 1934, the Daily Mail, owned by Harold Hamsworth, the first Viscount Rothermere, great-great-grandfather of today's Lord Rothermere, published a front-page article personally written by Lord Rothermere's headlined, "Hurrah for the Blackshirts." The article was a direct call to action. It concluded with an instruction for young British men to go and join Mosley's fascist movement. It praised the Blackshirts as having aims as British as their membership. Following that headline, the membership swelled to approximately 50,000 people. So that's the reference in regards to the association of the Rothermeres with the man with the mustache and his movement and that headline. And then, of course, we can't leave out Rupert Murdoch. His newspapers, The Sun, The Times, admitted in January 2025 in open court to phone hacking Prince Harry, surveillance, illegal information gathering going back to 1996. They called it unlawful activities carried out by private investigators. Harry's lawyer called it a criminal enterprise. They admitted it, paid damages, and the very same week, the tabloids and their American counterparts were busy amplifying a new anonymous source story about Meghan being a bad boss. 8 years. Every time something good happens for Harry and Meghan, a deal, a win, a new project, within days, sometimes even within hours, a hit piece drops. Anonymous source, of course. No names, no proof, just insiders say. But it doesn't have to be just something good or a deal or a win. When they need distraction, they need to distract you, me, from something heinous happening within the royal family or otherwise. Their prime scapegoat is Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan. A study found that just 83 social media accounts generated 70% of all the hate content targeting them online. Not thousands of people, 83. And 5 YouTube channels were earning 42,000 a month doing it. 42,000 a month. This channel gets about $150 a month, if that much. Not complaining, I'm just saying. This isn't organic. It's not an organic public opinion. This is a machine. And it has to be called out. I've been spending time trying to map this and do proper research, and everything takes time if you're going to try and do it properly and not just say things that I can't verify or I haven't done research on. And I get it also because I know many of you will say, well, why even do it? Just stay positive and say the positive things about Harry and Meghan. But I'll tell you why I do it. Just hang on here with me. I'll tell you why. Now, this is not the full report. Okay. I just wanted to give you folks, bring something out to say, look, I'm working on this stuff. I've done most of the research I've already done. Well, I shouldn't say most. I think I'm halfway through it. So the full report is coming soon. I'll try and see if I can get it all together by today. If not, it will probably be tomorrow or the day after. In which I'm going to show you the ownership structure, the political money, the Saudi investment, the legal admissions, the timeline of every major hit piece mapped against every major positive event in Harry and Meghan's lives. And exactly how a story invented in a London tabloid ends up on your YouTube feed as truth. It's all interconnected. It all is. And I will continue to call it out. So I know many of you would prefer for me to, I prefer for this channel not to, as some of you have said, amplify any of this. And I don't see it as amplifying. I see it differently, and I hope you will come along with me as I explain this and perhaps understand where I'm coming from. I have tried, and I will continue to do this, to be a great supporter, an amplifier of the good work, good stuff that Harry and Meghan are putting out in this world and are doing. That is my number one. This channel is here for that. But I have tried to ignore the other side when these stories emerge. But I'll tell you part of my belief. And this is not criticism to anyone or anyone at all. This is just my belief. Mine. I truly believe that silence is not neutral. It isn't. To me, silence is complicity. And I fully understand if someone wants to curate and for their mental health, because trust me, sometimes this stuff as a content creator, it gets you down. It just gets you down because it's continuous. Every single day, these people just bam, 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 over and over and over. They just hammer all this negative stuff. And as a content creator that wants to highlight all the great stuff, but also think that we need to have a rebuttal system against all this negativity, I can't help it. It kind of gets into my pores and I have to get it out somehow. Also, when I have close friends of mine that they know my passion about this, and then I'll have a conversation with them and they bring up this nonsense. And these are not stupid people. These are intelligent people with good jobs that 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 because they've heard this stuff repeated over and over and over again, it starts to become truth in their head. So to me, just ignoring it, that argument just it sounds reasonable by all the means, but it fundamentally misunderstands how propaganda works. It honestly does. Because documented research shows that it explains the core mechanism of propaganda. And that is repetition. Repetition, 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 repetition. And a repetition without rebuttal becomes reality. It becomes the truth. When 83 social media accounts generate 70% of all hate content targeting Harry and Meghan, and it reaches more than 17 million users. 17 million users. I This channel, 2 years, and barely now 500 people are even watching or care about anything. I mean, yeah, I get it. Maybe I am boring. Maybe I don't have the panache and the showmanship or whatever it is that retain people's attention. Maybe I do too much research. Maybe the stuff is too, I don't know, lectury or something. And it's okay. But when a channel like this is only reaching 200, 500, and the amount of work that I put in to do research to make sure what I'm saying has validity, it has the research to back it, and that's all it reaches. And the other side reaches over 17 million users. So to me, ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It really doesn't. To me, it makes it the only voice in the room. And I know some of you are not going to like it, and I know some of you are going to probably say, "Oh, who cares what he's saying?" And some of you right now are just going to turn it off and go, "Okay, he's getting very pessimistic or dark or whatever. Let's just move on. Let's go listen to something happier." And that's okay. Like it's totally okay. I mean, it's frustrated for me, but it's okay. Because the sort of big lie principle is the more you repeat something, the more it becomes reality. Why do you think they haven't stopped? 8 years. 8 years plus, and they keep repeating the same cycle, the same things over and over and over and over. And you ask anyone who thinks that they're neutral, who's like, yeah, I'm not into that stuff. I don't listen to, like, I don't read the tabloids, I don't read magazines or those things. I don't care about Harry and Meghan, whatever. But after that, I don't listen, I don't care, I'm not involved in that. If you ask them, so what do you think? And you will hear them repeat verbatim what the tabloids say. Verbatim, you'll hear them repeat what one of those shows say. Because while a channel like this reaches 200, 500 people, they are reaching 17 million plus people every single day. Every day. And there's very few who are rebutting, who are saying, no, this is not right. This is incorrect. This information is not correct. A lie repeated often enough without challenge is eventually repeated as truth. And the Daily Mail's great grandfather era paper literally ran hooray for the Blackshirts. So the Rothermere family understands this principle better than almost anyone alive. It's in their institutional DNA. 8 years. 8 years of daily negative stories, amplified and coordinated with no accountability, no rebuttal in infrastructure. That is the big lie principle in modern form. Absolutely. So this to me is important work. And it's the reason why I will continue to do rebuttals and to call it out. The machinery exposed in this research that I've started to do, it shows how the concentration of media now is extremely conservative. Conservative media ownership. You have large amount of money, Saudi investment in American entertainment press. And of course, anonymous sourcing used as liability-free defamation. Coordinated social media bot networks.
Sous les lumières de Paris, elle revient douce magie. Son pas léger sur les pavés.
It's beautiful. Thanks. So pretty and big.
The city shines when you ride. Les roses dansent et s'élancent. You make the city of light alive. The sun remembers every glance of stories dressed in elegance. Valencia, the dreams unfold as cameras flash like threads of gold. Oh, la belle étrangère, libre, sincère, lumière, Paris t'embrasse encore comme une muse qu'on adore. Bienvenue à Paris, Meghan. Your grace a timeless flame. Les étoiles chantent ton nom. Paris is never quite the same. Sous les étoiles. Bienvenue à Paris.
Imagine having so much money and privilege that when someone asks you to act normal, you can't do it. This is Catherine. This is Princess Catherine. She is currently, was on a tour last week and she was attempting to pour a cup of coffee. If you see the video, you can find it for yourself. But there was a real struggle just to act like a fake barrister, which is not a big role. It's not a big part in a big production. It's very simple. It's hold the cup and pour. But what it felt like was this kind of awkward cosplaying of being an ordinary everyday person to mock the real lives of real people. Now, someone's going to sit there and be like, it's not that deep. And it's not that deep is my favorite form of anti-intellectualism. But why would you cosplay as a barrister? Why? Barista. Why? Why bother? What's the point? Who is that show for? Is this to say that I'm just like you? Well, you're not just like us. And we know this, right? So this for me is performative. It's an act of like presentation to make people feel like I do what you do. But if you are going to do that, could you go somewhere and practice so that you actually look like a human being that's ever held two cups together and poured one item into the other? That's the bare minimum we ask for the humanizing of the royal family. And that question of the royal family is going to become a bigger one and a louder one as days goes on. And it feels like there is an agenda to make sure that the monarchy does not exist in 10 years' time because their inability to connect and relate to people in a very real way is now starting to grow legs.
And I agree with him 100%. So for those of you who are still able to order stuff, as ever, is having, as you know, I'm sure you know, is having a drop today. And it's going to be flowers and tea and all things good. And I'm saying that with this kind of voice and this kind of attitude because one day one day, a boy can dream. One day we'll be able, for those of us outside of the United States of America, we'll be able to hand over our credit cards also. Do whatever and as ever and forever and get our products that we would like to have also. Anyways, so happy shopping to those of you who are able to do that, okay? Continue to support the brand. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I love you all. And thank you for supporting this channel however you can, whenever you can. I do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, okay? Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to your loved ones. And to that stranger crossing your path, be kind. You never know. I love you all. God bless. Until we speak again. Bye-bye.
I saw her once on a screen. A photo. A smile. Didn't even take a second. It wasn't fame or shine. It was something deeper. Something real. Her eyes, her grace, the way her soul spoke through stillness. She stopped the noise in my head, stopped the conveyor belt. My woman, my peace, my fire.
They talk too loud, they scream my name. Mad 'cause love don't look the same. They wanted crowns, they wanted fame, but I just wanted you. Oh, you walked in light, they threw their shade, yeah. You smiled through hell they made. Every lie they told, every game they played could never break our truth. Forgive me for ever thinking I could find peace in that kind of world. They never wanted love, they wanted a symbol. You gave me life instead. My love, my Meghan, they can't touch this fire. Unbeatable love, we just climb higher. They'll never know what we survived. You and I, we're still alive. My love, my Meghan, they can't take your crown. You wear your scars like grace in a gown. Every word they throw, we rise above. Unbeatable, unshakable love. They said a black biracial woman long in gold, but baby you wore it like you were born royal. So bold. They wanted me to give them the light, but I already gave my heart to my wife. Every headline, every glare, I see your strength, I see you care. You're more than beauty, more than fame. Your truth, your love, you're my name. Let them talk, let them try. We built our heaven under the sky. They never understand what real looks like. They never been this free, yeah.